You probably have some of these lying around your house right now. They're cheap, common, easy to ignore, but when disaster hits, they become priceless. I'm not talking about gold, weapons, or fancy gadgets. I'm talking about simple items, the kind you can get for a few bucks that can literally decide whether you survive or not. Because when the grid goes down, stores are empty, and panic sets in, you won't care how much something cost, only if it works. In this video, I'm revealing 9 insanely cheap items that become survival gold when things fall apart. No hype, no gimmicks. Just real, functional tools that most people overlook until it's too late. And while you're here, smash that subscribe button and ring the bell, because every week I show you the tools and truths that real preppers rely on before it's too late. Let's get started. Number 1. Bick lighters. When disaster strikes, there's one element that instantly separates the prepared from the helpless: fire. Whether it's staying warm, boiling water, cooking food, or keeping predators away, fire becomes a lifeline. And while everyone talks about flint strikers, ferro rods, or primitive bushcraft techniques, the reality is nothing beats a cheap Bick lighter when seconds matter. Let's break it down. A single Bick lighter costs around $1. You can get a pack of 5 for the price of a fast food meal. But when the power goes out, the gas lines stop, and temperatures drop, that tiny plastic tool becomes one of the most priceless items in your entire kit. Here's why. Bick lighters are reliable, compact, waterproof with proper sealing, and offer thousands of sparks and flames without needing strength or technique. You can use one with gloves on, in wind, in rain, if protected, and even hand it off to someone with no survival training. It just works. Compare that to a ferro rod. Sure, those are great too, but they require dry tinder, practice, and multiple strikes. And in the cold, with wet hands, limited dexterity, or high stress, a lighter wins every single time. And yes, lighters can run out. That's why smart preppers don't carry one. They carry 6, keep one in every bag, vacuum seal a few, tape them under furniture, stash one inside your first aid kit, your car's glove box, your kitchen drawer. Redundancy is survival. Another key reason they're priceless? Morale. A warm flame in total darkness isn't just survival, it's psychological strength. It calms fear, lifts spirits, and creates comfort in collapse. And here's the kicker. Even an empty Bick lighter can still spark fire with dry tinder or a cotton ball and Vaseline combo. That's extra mileage even after the fuel's gone. Bottom line, while everyone's showing off their tactical fire gear, it's the humble, forgotten Bick lighter that might actually save you. It's cheap. It's proven. And when the lights go out, you'll thank yourself for every single one you packed. Number 2. Stainless steel glass. It's one of the most boring items in your kitchen, a plain stainless steel glass. But in a real disaster scenario, this cheap everyday object turns into a survival essential you'll be glad you didn't overlook. Most people rely on plastic cups, ceramic mugs, or disposable paper when it comes to drinking. But the moment things collapse, when clean water is scarce, fire becomes your purifier, and gear gets limited. A stainless steel glass becomes one of the most versatile tools you can have. Why? Because it does more than hold water. First, it's boil safe. Unlike plastic or glass, you can set it directly over flame or hot coals to boil water, sterilize liquids, or even heat up broth or soup. That alone makes it priceless in grid-down conditions where bacteria or parasites in unfiltered water can kill faster than bullets. Second, it's nearly indestructible. You can drop it, dent it, freeze it, or burn it, it'll still function. In a bug-out or off-grid camp, gear durability is everything. A broken cup means wasted water, lost food, or worse, contamination. It's also easy to clean. Even if you're low on water, stainless steel doesn't hold on to bacteria the way plastic or wood does. A quick rinse, a wipe, or just fire exposure can reset it for the next use. And here's something most people never consider: you can use it for cooking. Pour in dry rice, beans, or grains, add water, and place it near a fire. Slowly heat, and you've got a compact cooking vessel. In an emergency, even being able to warm up a bit of broth can mean the difference between comfort and collapse. From boiling to storing, scooping to sipping, a simple stainless steel glass transforms into a critical, durable, multi-use survival tool. And the best part? You probably already own one or can get one for less than $3. It's not flashy, it's not tactical. But when clean water, safe food, and heat become survival priorities, this overlooked kitchen item quietly does it all. Number 3. Cotton balls. In most households, Cotton balls are tucked away in a bathroom drawer, usually next to nail polish remover or some forgotten first aid supplies. But in a true disaster scenario, these soft, fluffy little items turn into hardcore survival essentials. At first glance, cotton balls seem too basic to matter. But don't let their simplicity fool you. When things fall apart, the value of something that's absorbent, sterile, compact, and flammable becomes incredibly clear. One of their most critical uses is wound care. Cotton balls are gentle, sterile, when stored properly, and ideal for cleaning minor cuts, applying antiseptics, or dressing sensitive skin areas where rough gauze would cause more harm. When medical supplies are limited, their softness makes them perfect for treating eye wounds, burns, or other delicate injuries. But their usefulness doesn't stop there. Cotton balls are also incredibly effective for fire starting. Even without added accelerants, dry cotton catches a spark with ease and burns long enough to ignite twigs or kindling a critical edge when you're trying to start a fire in damp or windy conditions. Most bushcrafters will tell you, cotton is the foundation of dozens of fire kits for a reason. In a collapse, where lighters or matches might fail or be in short supply, having a natural tinder source like this can make all the difference. Even a flint striker can easily ignite a fluffed-up cotton ball. It takes minimal skill and no real experience, which is exactly what you want when you're cold, under pressure, or out of practice. There are even more subtle ways they can help. Cotton balls can be used to muffle gunfire as makeshift earplugs, reduce rattling noise in a bug-out bag, or quiet loose gear in your pack by stuffing it into tight spaces. And because they're so lightweight and compact, they take up almost no room in your bag, your pocket, or your med kit, but their utility goes far beyond their size. In a long-term collapse, where tools are scarce, medical options are limited, and second chances are rare, a dry, clean cotton ball can become an unexpectedly valuable asset. It's not about looking tactical, it's about what works when the system fails. And when that moment comes, the most powerful survival tool might not be some expensive gadget. It might just be sitting inside a plastic bag in your bathroom drawer right now. Number 4. Aluminum tent stakes. They're usually tossed aside after camping trips or buried at the bottom of some old gear bag. But when disaster strikes, aluminum tent stakes, those small, lightweight pegs you never think twice about, suddenly become incredibly valuable. At first glance, they seem too specialized to matter. Most people associate them strictly with pitching tents, but their utility in a survival scenario goes way beyond camping. In a real collapse, where shelter becomes unpredictable and mobility is everything, having a secure way to anchor your gear, tarp, or makeshift shelter to the ground can make all the difference. Whether you're bugging out in the woods, taking cover in an abandoned structure, or trying to create shade in brutal heat, aluminum tent stakes let you lock down your setup fast, even in high winds or unstable terrain. What makes them so effective is their weight-to-strength ratio. These stakes are feather light, but they can hold firm under tension. When the weather turns rough and your tarp is flapping or your rain cover starts to lift, a solid ground anchor keeps everything in place, which means your gear stays dry, your insulation stays tight, and you don't lose valuable warmth or supplies. That stability is priceless when you're dealing with unpredictable conditions, from windstorms to flash rains to urban collapse zones. But that's just the beginning. Aluminum tent stakes can also double as emergency tools. Sharpened slightly, they can act as last resort defensive items, not ideal, but in total chaos, anything with a point can create distance. You can also use them as gear pegs to hang tools, cooking equipment, or clothing off the ground. And for those thinking about perimeter defense, they can anchor tripwires or noisemaker lines to alert you if someone or something crosses into your space. That kind of early warning is crucial when law enforcement is gone, and every sound could signal a threat. Another reason they matter? They're overlooked. Most people will grab the tarp but leave behind the very thing that makes that tarp useful. In a long-term grid-down scenario, where improvisation becomes survival, something as simple as a tent stake can be the difference between a stable setup and a collapsed shelter. They're cheap, small, and easily packable, and in the middle of a real disaster, they provide quiet control in a world spinning out of it. When you need to build fast, hold strong, and stay low profile, a handful of aluminum stakes might quietly become one of the smartest things you carried. Number 5. Rubber bands. They're probably scattered across your kitchen drawer, wrapped around an old bundle of mail, or holding a broken remote shut. But when disaster hits, rubber bands go from everyday background clutter to one of the most surprisingly useful survival tools you can carry. In a total collapse scenario, where supply chains are cut, tools break, and organization becomes critical, something as simple as a rubber band becomes incredibly valuable. Most people never think twice about them. They're cheap, easy to overlook, and often get thrown out. But that's exactly why they matter. Because in survival, the things that work quietly in the background are often the ones that hold everything together literally. Rubber bands shine in situations where quick fixes, improvised solutions, and space-saving matter. When your gear is scattered or needs to be bundled in a hurry, rubber bands give you fast, no-hassle control. You can secure paracord, lock down tent poles, wrap medical supplies, or prevent tools from rattling around in your bag. In urban collapse where you might need to stay quiet and mobile, a tightly packed loadout becomes the difference between efficient movement and chaotic noise. They also act as emergency repair tools. Broken zipper on a jacket or pack? A rubber band can rebind or loop it closed temporarily. Loose straps or torn gear? Wrap it tight and reinforce it instantly. Even grip issues like slick flashlight handles or bare metal tools can be fixed by simply wrapping a few bands around the contact point to create traction. That kind of functionality, especially in cold or wet conditions, can make a huge difference when handling gear under stress. Rubber bands can also support basic first aid improvisation. They can help stabilize splints, hold dressing in place, or keep gauze wrapped around a wound when you're short on medical tape. They're not perfect solutions, but in a crisis, good enough is sometimes life-saving. They even work for makeshift slingshots, snares, or traps when you need creative ways to catch food or defend space without drawing attention. What makes rubber bands stand out is their sheer versatility packed into something that weighs almost nothing. A handful can fit into any pocket, survival pouch, or med kit, and you won't even notice they're there until the moment you desperately need them. They're not glamorous, they're not tactical, and they'll never make a gear list look cool. But when the world is falling apart, and you need to keep things together, rubber bands prove they were never just office supplies. They were quiet survival tools all along. Number 6. Aluminum baking tray. It might be sitting in your kitchen right now, stained from years of use and tucked behind a stack of pans. But when the grid goes down and survival becomes a daily grind, an aluminum baking tray turns into one of the most surprisingly versatile tools you can carry. It's not tactical, it's not flashy, but in a true disaster scenario, it quietly delivers value that expensive gear often can't. First, there's the obvious use. It's a ready-made cooking surface. In a collapse, when stoves don't work and you're cooking over open flame or hot coals, a baking tray gives you a flat, safe surface to heat food, dry meat, or boil water using indirect heat. It distributes heat evenly, and unlike flimsy cookware, it can handle high temperatures without warping or breaking down, but its utility goes way beyond food. Because it's lightweight, reflective, and flat, an aluminum baking tray can also be used as a daytime signal mirror if you need to attract attention from a distance. Flash it toward sunlight and bounce that light toward an aircraft, rescuer, or distant companion. In low-light, no electricity environments, it can help reflect candlelight or flashlight beams across a room, making small light sources more efficient and saving battery life in the process. When you're dealing with unpredictable weather, a baking tray becomes a reliable platform to collect rainwater, hold sterile tools, or keep critical gear off wet or dirty ground. It also acts as a basic organizer when space is limited. Whether you're sorting first aid items, prepping food, or keeping fire-starting gear separated, the raised edges contain everything in one place. That's crucial when working in unstable or cramped environments where dropped items might be lost or contaminated. And in emergencies, the tray itself can be modified. Bend it into a makeshift windbreak for a flame, a small gear shield, or even cut it into strips to use as heat deflectors or reflectors in DIY solar oven setups. Most people never give a second thought to something this common. But in collapse, the ability to cook, signal, protect, collect, and organize all with one flat piece of aluminum becomes quietly priceless. It's proof that survival isn't always about the gear you don't have. Sometimes, it's about knowing how to use the ordinary items you already do in extraordinary ways. Number 7. Clothesline rope. It's one of those items that most people don't even register as gear. Tied up behind a laundry room door or looped around a nail in the garage, the humble clothesline rope is usually just a tool for drying shirts in the Sunday. But when society collapses and survival becomes your full-time reality, this simple piece of rope can become one of the most practical assets you have. Unlike flashy paracord or expensive tactical line, cotton or nylon clothesline is cheap, flexible, and already in most households, yet it offers serious utility when the grid goes down. The most obvious use, of course, is for drying clothes, and that might sound minor until you've spent 3 days in wet socks with no electricity and a growing case of trench foot. Dry gear is safe gear, and being able to stretch a rope between 2 trees, walls, or poles and air out soaked clothing or blankets can literally save your health. But its usefulness goes far beyond that. Clothesline rope makes setting up emergency shelter fast and simple. Whether you're tying off a tarp between trees, reinforcing a lean-to, or creating a wind block, it becomes a quick anchor line that holds steady and adjusts easily. In a bug-out or off-grid scenario, you can also use clothesline to secure gear to a pack, drag supplies across terrain, or even rig up a pulley system to lift items out of reach of animals or potential thieves. It's also one of the easiest ways to build a perimeter warning system. Just stretch it at ankle height around your camp and attach tin cans, bottle caps, or bells. One trip and you'll hear the alert before trouble walks right in. It also plays a role in first aid improvisation. Need to splint a limb, create a sling, or bind something tight for compression? Clothesline holds knots well and won't dig into skin the way cordage sometimes does. In fact, its soft, rounded texture makes it ideal for field use when you're trying to help someone injured or unconscious. The beauty of clothesline is that it's quiet, low profile, and always useful. It doesn't draw attention, but it holds your survival setup together when it counts. When every action matters and every piece of gear needs to do more than one job, that old laundry rope suddenly becomes a line between comfort and collapse. Number 8. Old hardcover book. In today's digital world, old hardcover books are easy to overlook. They sit on shelves untouched, replaced by screens, apps, and cloud backups. But when the system fails, and the power, internet, and access to information all vanish, a physical book can become one of the most underrated tools in your survival setup, especially if that book contains real, hands-on knowledge. Think first aid guides, wilderness manuals, edible plant IDs, or old-school repair handbooks. In a collapse, when there's no search engine to save you, that printed page becomes the only instruction you've got. And it's not just about knowledge. A hardcover book has physical uses too. Tear out the pages, and you've got reliable fire-starting tinder dry, easy to ignite, and perfect for kindling when everything else is damp. The pages can also be used for makeshift note-taking, communication signs, or even emergency hygiene when supplies run out. It's not pretty, but it's real, and in a world with no resupply, that kind of flexibility matters. Psychologically, a book offers something few survival tools can: focus. In moments of panic, isolation, or boredom during a prolonged crisis, reading can ground the mind and keep despair at bay. It gives your brain something to do that doesn't involve worry or fear, and that mental stability could be just as important as food or fire. Lastly, don't underestimate a book's trade value. In a knowledge-starved offline world, a physical manual becomes barter gold. Whether it's for sharing first aid tips or teaching someone how to purify water without modern gear, real information is power. That old book gathering dust on your shelf? When the lights go out for good, it won't just be reading material. It'll be your manual, your kindling, your notebook, and maybe even your edge over the guy who bet everything on Wi-Fi. Number 9. Steel wool. It might be something you only use to scrub burnt pans or clean rust off tools, but in a real survival situation, steel wool becomes a powerful and highly underrated asset. Found in most cleaning closets or under kitchen sinks, this cheap, everyday item has multiple life-saving uses that most people don't even think about. And in a full-blown collapse, that's exactly the kind of quiet utility that can give you a serious edge. Its most famous survival use? Fire starting. When paired with a 9-volt battery, or even with certain friction or spark tools, steel wool ignites instantly and burns hot, even in damp or windy conditions. That means if you're out of matches or your lighter's dead, this could be your backup ignition plan. It's light, compact, and doesn't expire, making it an ideal emergency fire starter for any kit or bug-out bag. But fire isn't its only function. Steel wool can also be used for cleaning cookware over open flames, sharpening dull knife edges, or scouring corrosion off gear that's been exposed to moisture. In a collapse, where sanitation and maintenance matter just as much as food and water, this kind of versatility makes it more than just a cleaning supply. It becomes a true survival tool. It's also great for blocking holes. Shove it into cracks, vents, or entry points in your shelter, and you've got an instant pest barrier. Mice, insects, and even snakes hate chewing through it, giving you one more layer of defense when your living conditions are less than secure. In a world where everyone's focused on high-tech gadgets and tactical gear, steel wool is a perfect example of a low-cost, multi-use item that quietly proves its worth when things fall apart. It's not glamorous, but it works. And that's what matters when survival gets real. So here's the truth most people won't tell you. Prepping isn't about collecting expensive gear or looking tactical on YouTube. It's about thinking ahead, seeing the cracks before they widen, and choosing tools that actually work when the grid is gone, the shelves are empty, and no one's coming to help. Every item you just saw may look simple, maybe even too cheap to matter. But that's the point. Because when things collapse, it's not always the high-end gadgets that save you. It's the small, quiet tools that do the job without failing. And if you're the kind of person who doesn't just want to look ready, but actually be ready, then this channel is for you. Here, we cut the fluff. We talk about collapse survival the way it really is, raw, practical, and rooted in reality. So, before you go, do yourself a favor. Hit that subscribe button, turn on the bell. Because every week, I bring you no-nonsense breakdowns of the gear, tactics, and truths that could keep you alive when the world flips upside down. Trust me when that day comes. You'll be glad you didn't scroll past this.